We're big proponents of Predictive Index. I know other people use DISC or some other assessment tool, but for us, the strategists, the mavericks, the captains, the venturers, the persuaders, they all tend to make great salespeople. That's not the only ticket in. You got to have a really great attitude. It is about aptitude and attitude together. You got to look at both. But we have a really awesome recruiting team as well. We spent a few years really building up a great recruiting presence. So we're always recruiting.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. This is Brian Kaskavalcian, and with me today is Michael Flores from Expo Home. Michael, welcome.
Hello, Brian. How are you?
Good.
Good.
I was just telling you that this is should have happened 2 years ago, but here we are now.
Yep. Better late than never.
And better late than never. Michael, tell everybody, you have a great story. Tell everybody, give everybody the 2-3 minute back version on your story.
I kind of fell into construction by accident. My whole life was really commercial construction. Didn't grow up in the home improvement business at all. Worked for very large companies like Honeywell and Johnson Controls and other companies like that. And I found Expo Home Improvement. Actually, was called Window Expo and Bath Expo at the time. When I got laid off, from my job. I was growing a company here in the Texas area, and all of a sudden they had a change in leadership and decided to move on without me. So that's how I came to know Paul Dietzler. Paul Dietzler is the CEO of Expo Home Improvement and co-owner along with myself, and so he had gone through something very similar a few years before me. He was second in command at Omni Hotels and also got that call that nobody wants to get. And so he had a change of leadership there as well and purchased a small little home improvement company. And so both of us didn't have this background. And here we are running this company, and it started off, very small. And now we're very sizable, have over 300 employees.
Wow.
In 4 locations, actually 5 locations, just 4 with brick and mortar, and considering the expansion as well. And it's finally starting to get fun. It really is.
Well, good. Well, it's funny because I met Paul probably, I want to say within a year of him buying the window business.
Okay.
And just kind of watching over the years what he was able to do. And then when you came into the business and what you guys have done together. But it was really interesting because he did not have any home improvement experience, no background at all in the industry, came from the hotel business as an executive. And at first, you kind of you talk with people and you're just not sure, is it going to work? Is this going to work? But what I think both of you guys brought to the business is that discipline from being a C-suite executive, which we don't see a lot in this industry.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so it's pretty incredible what you guys have done. How many salespeople?
So we're hovering around that 75 mark. And so, we continue to grow, and it's been fun.
Well, let's go. I want to go back. I want to go back to when you came into the business. Can you give us an idea of how big was the business when you came in?
Yeah, so we were just under 20 million in annual revenues at that point in time, and Paul hired me as the director of sales. So I've been selling. I grew up on the sales side of the construction business my whole life. Like I said, but most of it was B2B, and so. But I know how to sell, and so I came in, and we very quickly grew sales, installed some processes. My job was to really mentor the sales managers that were here in place and put in process, put in structure, put in rigor and discipline, and start to grow the business. So that was in 2018. And then we were able to expand locations. So we grew to San Antonio in that time frame. So we were in Dallas and Austin and in San Antonio. It was a really, really hard to, start to think in terms of B2C, but the process is the same, right?
Yep.
You're just working with people to try to serve their needs.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you did where, talking about sales, sales, I always say sales is the core of this business.
Mm-hmm.
Production is should be the quote unquote easy part, because that's a lagging thing. It's like I sold something. Okay. Now I've got 4 weeks to figure out how to get it installed. So that should be fairly simple to accomplish. The hardest part of the business is leads.
Yeah, marketing is the key, and we have found that out the hard way.
Yep, we all have.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not the only one.
When you look at the complexity of marketing in this industry, from lead generation and brand awareness, and getting higher intent leads in the hands of great salespeople. I mean, that's the secret sauce.
Oh yeah.
And it's a complicated algorithm. It's 3-dimensional chess. You try to figure all that out. So you go through the different lead sources, aggregators, all the way through branded leads and different levels of intent. And of course, we're also a jacuzzi dealer in 3 of our markets, so we buy leads from them as well. And those are, some are really great, and some are more of a lower intent. But trying to get that mix right and get the leads assigned to the A and B sales reps, boy, what a complicated algorithm that is.
Yeah. But what a great job Dave Azer's doing, huh?
Absolutely.
Wow.
We love the relationship we have with Jacuzzi, and we obviously have 3 markets that we're assigned geographically, and so but we have a great partnership with them for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Good group. Great group. Okay. So I want to come back to marketing. Let's stay on sales for a minute, or for a few minutes, and talk about what are some of the things that you instituted coming into the business. Now, it was already doing $20 million. So, something was going right, but you brought in some other things. So let's talk a little bit about that.
I think a sales culture was what I was hired to build, right? So we had a couple of really great sales leaders that were kind of off on their own, doing their own thing. Nothing was really structured and process oriented. So I was there to ground all that in the foundation of process. So the training programs and creating one consistent way of doing things. Making sure that the process for estimating a job and quoting a job and contracting a job and the legalese that goes into that was all, tied off and top notch, and instituted forecasting and budgeting and all of that. And then we actually, for the first time ever, created a rehash program. We call it revisit because I like that word better.
Better, yeah.
We partnered with a company called Hatch. I'm sure a lot of people know that company, and really created a nice additional incremental revenue stream through our revisit function. And so that's really why Paul hired me, was to deal with that first.
When you say, you just use the term sales culture,
mm-hmm.
What do you mean by sales culture? I
think there's kind of 3 categories of cultures that companies tend to have. At least there may be more, but 3 that I'm kind of familiar with. One is, salespeople. It's not really that hard. They memorize a script, so anybody can do it, and so there's not really a whole lot of respect. There's also the culture where salespeople can be kind of prima donnas. They walk on water. The company revolves around them, and they're that special team, which also can create tension in the rest of the organization. And there's that culture that I call humble heroes. And so for us, we have salespeople that can make a lot of money, and they should, but they also have to recognize that we built an entire organization around them to support them. That they're not just doing that on their own. So, I when I orient a sales team today, even today, I have one later on today, a new class is starting. And I will talk about the fact that, yes, those salespeople can make a lot of money, but the marketing team, the call center team, the customer service team, the production team doesn't have that same opportunity to scale financially like that, but they're working every bit as hard to make the salesperson successful. So I say it would always be, it would be a nice idea if you walked into the Expo care room with a tray full of slushies from 7-Eleven, just say thank you for doing such a great job. Walk into the call center with boxes of pizzas out of your own pocket, right? Not funded by the company, but just to say thank you because everybody's working there. So those are kind of those three dichotomies of cultures that I kind of look at, and we try to create that culture of humble heroes, people who are hungry and who want to get out there and get it done and work hard, have fun while they're doing it. Because, technically for us, the sales job is the best job, right? You get to meet with lots of people. You make a lot of money. You don't have to deal with the headaches of legal issues or customer satisfaction issues. You don't have to install it. You have to spend your time getting dirty, right? So you go meet people, you have great conversations, you serve them, you make money. And so that's a great life. It's a great job. But remember, it's not just about you.
What are some of the keys to having a successful sales team? And a team, let's just say it could be 2, it could be 75, like what Michael has. But what's the key? And is it different at different levels from your experience?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to leadership. Right. So coaching and mentoring and leadership, and obviously different styles of leaders, exist in the business. Some are very raw and emotional and supercharged and energetic. Some are more understated, but provide great shoulder to cry on and great feedback and coaching. So I think having a positive attitude and, understanding the needs of the sales team that are under you is the key. So that, for us, we call those frontline leaders. They're field sales trainers, field sales managers. They're in the field with the sales reps, coaching and mentoring. And sometimes the sales rep needs a kind of a kick in the pants, and sometimes they need a nice pat on the shoulder, right? And it's all dependent. So knowing the psychology of the sales force is huge. And continuing to drive that motivation, create that hunger is the job of the sales leader.
Where are you finding salespeople right now? I mean, you're not hiring them from the industry, I would imagine. So what are the types of people that are succeeding right now in your organization as a salesperson?
We actually are hiring some people from industry, obviously. As we know, as we all know, and not everybody comes from industry, but as we all know, there's been a lot of private equity coming into the system, and that has in some cases changed the culture.
Yeah.
Because we're still privately held and we have absolutely no desire to sell because of what we built here is really, really special. So, we're going to protect that. I'm here to protect that with my equity stake as well. And, we're going to continue to be privately held, nimble and quick, move on a dime, make decisions fast, and outpace the other person, outpace the other companies. So people are knocking on our door because of our reputation, which is cool and interesting. That didn't happen a few years ago, right? We were too small. So that we are hiring a little bit from industry, but it comes down to personality, style, characteristics. So we're big proponents of Predictive Index. I know other people use DISC or some other assessment tool, but for us, the strategists, the mavericks, the captains, the venturers, the persuaders, they all tend to make great salespeople. That's not the only ticket in. You got to have a really great attitude. So it is about aptitude and attitude together. You got to look at both. But we have a really awesome recruiting team as well. We've spent a few years really building up a great recruiting presence. So we're always recruiting, always, always, always.
Yeah, which is one of the keys to building a really great company is always be recruiting. What about the process? What about the process of training, the actual step selling system? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I think, we have a 2-week in-class process. And obviously you can't learn everything you need to learn in that 2 weeks. So there's a follow-up process where, you do ride-alongs and get in the field and see some presentations live and handle objections and all that kind of stuff. So we use a 10-step process, probably based and anchored in a Yoho type of approach, but with some jacuzzi scattered in. And then obviously our sales leaders come from different backgrounds, Sears, Home Depot, Pella, those kinds of places. So some of those influences integrate into our system, but we do have a system. We do measure that system. We use RILA to validate that what we say and what we get are the same, with, obviously allowing for a little bit of style difference. Some people are a little bit more country, a little bit more city.
I like that. Allowing for a little bit of style. Yeah, I like that.
Add for a little style, because some people, especially for us in Texas, right? You get out in the Tyler area, Longview area, east of Dallas, and they're wearing cowboy hats and boots and jeans and belt buckles, right? So you better show up looking like them. And
yeah.
So you have to add that in. You have to add that flair in.
I just finished watching the first season of Landman.
Okay.
With Billy Bob. And so I spent a little bit of time in, where is it filmed? Midland, Texas?
Midland and Odessa, the two big oil towns. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's flat, it's brown, and there's lots of oil wells and lots of cowboy hats and cowboy boots and
dust.
And dust, yes, and lots of dust. So with sales process, so consistency, I would imagine, is very important. They are scripted.
Yes.
But you allow for a little bit of, as you say, I like that, style. How much are they allowed to, say, go off of the script and introduce their own style?
I'd say for us, we measure sales performance by NSLI. And so if your NSLI is in a good spot, we're not going to touch your butterfly wings and mess with you, as long as you're doing everything ethically and legally and morally, of course, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, if you're following the process to a place where you are serving customers with excellence, we're not going to mess with you. Now, when you start going off the rails and you start to change too much and get too creative or get cocky and get overconfident, then our sales leaders will intervene and hopefully get you back on track so that we don't have to part ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they're selling a lot, but they have a bad attitude, do they stay?
Absolutely not. So one of the things that, part of a humble hero culture is it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. And so the culture for us is everything. And not to say that people don't have their down days, but we don't tolerate foul language. We're a faith-based company, so you won't hear very often, I'm going to say, a curse word or a harsh tone. We're humans, so we're gonna have sin and we're gonna make errors, but the goal is to create unity, to create harmony, to create a culture of a unification where people feel like they're part of the family. And so, you get somebody with a bad attitude or somebody who leaves a big wake behind their boat, or sucks the air out of the room when they walk in. They don't last long at our company. They kind of opt themselves out. It's just the
I've noticed. Yeah, that happens with us too. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's interesting. So when you're a smaller company, you would think, okay, it's easier to have that family feel. If you're 6 people, 10 people, even 20 people, it's easier to have that family feel. Although in a lot of cases, as you've probably seen, dysfunctional family, because if the business isn't running well, everybody's at odds with each other. But as you grow, and you said you guys are at 300-ish people?
We have over 300 people, yes.
How do you manage culture at that level when there are just so many people in so many departments? And in your case, they're spread out over 5 offices.
So there's a lot that goes into that. Tomorrow we have our monthly town hall. And so we have daily huddles. So 9 o'clock every day, we talk about yesterday and today, and we celebrate birthdays and anniversaries and high five everybody and celebrate successes. And we have an optional devotional, again, faith-based company at the end. We do that every single day. And then monthly, we have a town hall that, we go a little bit deeper into the recognition, and we award for integrity, excellence, and service, which is our core values. So we have nominations throughout the month, and we give those awards. We talk a lot about our plan. We talk a lot about our vision. We're on EOS, so we have the 10-year plan defined, the 3-year plan defined, the 1-year plan defined. So we talk about it a lot. And fortunately for us, we just went through an engagement survey process with a third-party company. So it's completely independent. We don't know who said what. And our engagement scores, quite honestly, were very, very good. Now, we still have some work to do for sure. And
always,
first time we've ever done anything like that. So there's a little bit of a gut check, right? To engage, check engagement for your company. And what if you get a bunch of bad news? Well, fortunately, we didn't get a bunch of bad news, but we have areas of improvement. I think the area for us to improve on is to make sure that our senior leadership team, we call them the growth leadership team, or the vice president of marketing, sales, production, finance, IT, that we all got to get out to the other offices and see those locations as well. They've got to see us. So travel isn't always fun, but it's necessary. And so that's probably the next step for us, is to make sure we're not only having team meetings on Teams or Zoom or things like that, but we're actually physically present in the buildings.
What do the daily huddles look like? Is everybody in the company invited to that, or is that just leadership team? What does the daily huddle look like?
Yeah, it's open to everybody, and we encourage everybody to do it. Now, obviously, installers are probably already, they've already penetrated the bathroom and they're already doing the demo. So that we don't see a lot of production on the call. Sometimes you'll see salespeople. Like today, we have our weekly big sales meeting. So salespeople are on it. So we will see typically somewhere between 40 and 80 people on the daily huddle. And so all walks of life, like you'll get the finance team, the Expo care team, which is our customer service team. You'll get the call center, our inside sales department, marketing team, all of that. And we start out with, we tell a few jokes. We have, what day of the year is it? And we talk about yesterday's results. And sometimes we'll have a birthday to celebrate, or an anniversary. In fact, just this past week, our very first installer, hired 12 years ago, who is now our senior installation manager for all of North Texas, been with us for 12 years. So, he just celebrated his 12th year anniversary. And it's a funny story. We kid him all the time because his name is Fonzie, and he gave Paul 1 year when he was hired into the bath business as the first employee on the bath side, or the first installer on the bath side. He said, "I'll give him 1 year." And here he is 12 years later.
12 years later.
Running the business.
Now, are those huddles then recorded and sent out? Are they done via Zoom? Is it a phone call?
It's on Teams, and every one of them is recorded. So we encourage people to go back and listen if they missed it, especially if there's a key announcement, 401k enrollment or anything like that. We'll advertise that. So we have a really good, we call it Connect, Share, Post channel in Teams, as well as the Daily Huddle channel in Teams. And so everybody's on that. It's very easy to find, and people can go back and view it. Who
leads that Daily Huddle?
It rotates. So sometimes somebody in the call center will lead it. Sometimes somebody in marketing will lead it. So, so it's not the Paul and Michael show. In fact, we absolutely don't want it to be that.
Yeah.
We want it to be organic. We want it to be authentic and genuine. And so in order to have that, it has to be, cascaded down to cascaded out to everybody. And so everybody kind of takes a day and says, "This is my day, and I'm going to put the agenda together and, come up with the jokes and all of that." And it makes it fun.
That's great. And then you do a monthly town hall. So tell me a little bit about that.
So, for example, tomorrow will be our monthly town hall where it's a more extended meeting. Our daily huddles last 10 to 15 minutes tops. Our extended huddle will last more like an hour. And tomorrow we'll be focusing on marketing as a function from soup to nuts. So we just hired a new, really skokum cool vice president of marketing. She just joined about a month ago. And so she's new to the organization, but catching on fast. And she's going to go through her entire vision so that the whole company gets an opportunity to hear that. So every month we have a different topic of focus, and it gives us the ability to make sure everybody's informed about what's important and relevant today. So they know they've been communicated with, which is probably why we had such good engagement scores.
Yeah. Do you share financial results?
We do. We talk about top line primarily. So we talk about sales security is what we call it, net installed revenue. Of course, the metrics that we look at from a sales perspective is NSLI and net close rate compared to issued leads. How many issued leads? We talk about fulfillment. So we have actually a whole wall of TV monitors that have gauges and metrics and all that kind of stuff. And so we don't cascade down to the EBITDA level at the frontline level, just because that it's kind of hard to comprehend.
It's not necessary.
It's not necessary, but we absolutely run on a profit first mentality. So in other words, that is a sales minus profit equals expenses kind of mentality versus the other way around.
Yeah.
Because our why is really to focus in on our 501c3 not-for-profit called The Collective Way. So we have about 5 organizations that we really invest deep with. One is a widow's shelter. One's an orphanage. One deals in human trafficking. Another deals with young business entrepreneurs and leaders. And so, part of our we're a company that helps people get better and grows people. We happen to install bathrooms, windows, and kitchens.
We talk about profit so much here. And a lot of it, the money is great. The money is great. But it's so much more than just about the money. Money is a great tool. And without profit, how can you have a great business? How can you have great people? How can you make sure that your people in your building, it's like I say it all the time about, like if people have these things, well, I want to do this. I want to be a place in my community where people can come and get a great job and make a great living and buy a house and all of that. And I'll always ask them, well, how's it going for your family? And if it's the whole thing about, you have to put the mask on first, in the airplane. If there's a sudden loss of cabin pressure, what do they tell you to do? Don't try and put the other person's mask on, because you're going to pass out and you're both going to pass out. You're both going to be gone. And so profit is what pays for all of this stuff. And it allows you to do things like that, set up a nonprofit. Take some of that money and actually do good in the community. But the business has to do good. The people inside of the business have to do good, and their families have to do good first before now we can go outside and start taking care of the community. And I'm glad you brought that up. The 501c is a nonprofit, right?
Yeah, 501c3 is a nonprofit. And in addition to that, we also have a chief ministry officer on staff and a dream manager on staff. So in taking care of your employees, as you mentioned, you got to take care of you put your mask on first. So absolutely, we got to be profitable. The business got to be profitable first. But with that, we also invest in our employees. So our dream manager actually just graduated a few weeks ago. They're the first tranche of 33 dreamers who accomplished something that they were dreaming about, taking a vacation, going to school.
Okay, hold on a minute here. Michael, tell me more. Okay, first off, what is a dream manager?
There's a book. It's called The Dream Manager out there.
Okay.
The author,
never heard of it.
Title escapes me.
Okay.
But it really is, it helps people to really just think about, okay, am I just going to work to make a living, to exist, to consume oxygen, to pay my bills? Or can I be developed and grown and stretched? And, because now with technology, it's more of an integrated life. It's not just I work and then I play. I go home and I turn it all off. No, it's like an integrated life. So we read the book Dream Manager, and we were so inspired by that we actually took actually Paul's very, very first employee, Tony Young, who folded up her bath business to come lead production at Expo Home. She is now our certified Dream Manager, second longest employee with the company behind Paul. And so that dream can be anything. Can be, I want to take a vacation. I want to save up for a car. I want to go to college. I want to have a family. I want to, I have an addiction. I need something, to help with that, whatever. And so it's completely isolated under the 501c3 umbrella, which makes it not an Expo Home thing. So it's confidential. I don't know anybody who's in the program. I don't hear any stories. It's completely at arm's length, but there's freedom and anonymity. And so they can go in, and like I said, 33 people went through the program this past year and graduated with, all their dreams, kind of materialized. And it's talk about process, right? You got to meet monthly. You start on time, you end on time, you follow the plan, you have homework, you bring your homework back, and you got to do your homework. If you don't do your homework, you get booted from the program. So, but it really is a nice offering for our people.
God, I love that. So it's almost like a coach.
Yes.
You're providing your people with a coach.
Absolutely.
And you're saying, tell me what you want. Tell me what you want your life to be like. And let's come up with a plan of how you're going to get there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh my God, I love this.
Absolutely.
And there are other companies. I've talked with many companies that, they encourage people to have dream boards or vision boards, I should say. And they do all kinds of things around that. They'll meet together in little groups and they'll talk about it. But I'm not sure I've heard about it being done like this, where you've actually got a host. Now, does this person actually live inside the building? Do they have an office in the building, and then you can make an appointment and go and sit down with this person? And
absolutely. So we've dedicated 2 offices kind of on the far side of the building where our CEO sits. That's kind of our collective way. In the quieter side of our building where finance sits. Tony has an office there, as well as our chief ministry officer, Scott Hall, is there as well. And so that also provides a little bit of anonymity too, because you're inside the building, out of the fracas of the rest of the organization and where everybody's, kind of milling around. But yeah, the office here, they're very accessible, intentionally accessible. And Tony, she's the mom of the business. She really has just done such a great job.
That's incredible, Michael.
Our culture and our style. Yeah.
What a beautiful, beautiful thing you guys are doing for your people. Now, tell me about the chief ministry officer.
So the chief ministry officer is really kind of focused on 3 things. One, he was an ex-pastor for a large church in Keller. That's how Paul got to know him. Paul attended that church for a while. And he came out of ministry to come do this chief ministry officer role for us. So 3 main areas of focus. One is development of our leadership team. So he really kind of he's a great leader, great trainer, great speaker. Obviously, pulpit ministers are good speakers, right? And very, very wise. He also works directly with the charities to vet them, to make sure they're aligned culturally with the philosophy and the mindset that we have in terms of the people we want to invest in. We don't offer a lot of, wide support to lots of different charities. We go deep with just a few. So he vets that. And then the third thing he does is he also develops relationships with other like-minded leaders. So in our community, we'll call it a faith-based organization. There are other faith-based organizations out there. And so we're doing a few things right. Not that we've got it all figured out, but if we can help somebody along in their journey, maybe a little smaller in size, maybe newer in business, that can, benefit from the lessons we've learned along the way. So Scott also works with leaders in more of a training and development and mentorship program as well.
That's cool. That's like having the army chaplain on staff, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On steroids.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Let's talk about technology. So I would imagine you guys got a lot of tech going on over there.
We do.
What are some cool things that you're doing? I mean, you mentioned Rilla earlier, listening to sales calls, doing the virtual ride-alongs. But what are some of the other things, maybe AI based, that you guys are doing or otherwise? Cool tech.
Yeah. Well, so the realization that marketing is the key was quickly followed up by the fact that IT is part of marketing and part of sales. So it's not about hubs, LANs, and routers and laptops. It is about stitching the technology together to make the customer experience frictionless and fast. And so we've actually got a pretty sizable IT department, about 5-6 people in that department that are dedicated and super bright and super smart. So they handle everything from the application management like Leap and all of that, make sure that it's top notch and stable. And they're always constantly evaluating the market for new alternatives, right? So today we're on 5.9 inside of the call center, and we're also using Lace for AI to give feedback back to the managers in the call center to ensure that we're providing the right coaching and feedback.
Those are both AI tools for call centers.
So 5.9 is more of a voice over IP platform. It records the calls and gives you some insight as to who you're talking to. Obviously connected to Salesforce. So we've got a full instance of Salesforce. We had to actually graduate out of. We used to be with Improvement 360. And so we had to, our size graduate to a full instance of Salesforce. So all of that technology has to work together. The AI part is really Lace today. And so Lace is like Rilla for
call centers.
For the call center. And then Rilla is obviously a big part of our sales organization, giving that artificial intelligence, giving sales managers the ability to really provide the right feedback to their team. And with the latest developments that Rilla has come up with, where you can ask AI Rick the questions, what was the wife home, and did the sales rep make an attempt to get the wife down from upstairs? And Rick will tell you yes or no, and you can't hide. It's like watching game film. But we call it the IT juggernaut, unstoppable force. So our team led by our vice president of IT is probably, we consider it an investment. I call the IT department part of the demand creation team. So when we get together, we talk about sales and scale and growth. IT absolutely has a seat at the table because they're the ones who automate the vision of the vice president of marketing and the vice president of sales.
Wow. Very cool. Let's talk marketing.
Yes.
You got to drive a lot of leads every day, my friend.
Yes, we need less leads. We've been majorly dependent, unfortunately, on the aggregators, and so we're wringing the towel right now. Our new vice president of marketing, like I said, just joined about a month ago, and she already has put the right lead mix strategy together.
Good, yeah.
So we're wringing the towel of wasted costs. Intent is going up, so we're going to sell more with less leads, which is awesome to even think about, and become way more efficient. So
more efficient, yeah. Well, and also, this business historically, and we've talked about this here a lot recently, especially this year. This business historically has been a make marketing business, meaning
Absolutely.
I got to go out and make my own leads. Over the last few years, because of COVID, we became a take marketing, for 2 or 3 years because there was just so much out there.
Yeah.
And the aggregators, they very smartly, is smartly a word?
That could
Anyway,
be, yeah.
it's smartly, it's kind of like Bigly, but they very smartly capitalized on that and said, well, wait a minute, these guys can't handle all the leads that are coming. So we'll take them all and then we'll sell it back to them. And a lot of people, what they did was they kind of said, okay, well, I don't need to learn about marketing. I don't need to make my own leads. I'll just go to these aggregators. And if this one's not working, I'll just add another one. Or if these two are working, I'll just add two more. And then they become dependent on the aggregators. And
Yes.
then things like, this year or last year really is when it started. And the smart companies and the ones that are really going to succeed are doing what you're doing. They're getting away. And look, the aggregators have a part in this.
They do.
But
Yeah.
they were never built to be 100% a lead gen. They
Yeah.
should be 20%, maybe 30%, depending on the business at the most.
Yeah, they should fill in the gaps. They should layer into the business. But we gotta, as a company, gotta focus on previous customers. We gotta focus on self-generated leads and referrals. I mean, that's the top of the funnel. When you talk about lead intent, that's the top of the funnel for us. And
Oh, yeah.
so putting the effort and activity and the focus on that is really where we're at in our journey to really scale that, because that's where the money is. The
Sure.
manufacturing leads that we get from Jacuzzi are great. They have high intent. We're closing them very, very well. So like you said, Dave Azer is doing a fabulous job, and team is doing a fabulous job with us. But the aggregators, when you become overly dependent on the aggregators for your lead mix, what you find is you spend a lot of money on that, in the aggregate. And that's why they call it aggregators. You spend a lot of money on it, and it can create fatigue on your sales side, right? Because you're running a lot of leads that, some aggregators, call a lead, fill in this phone number and email address. That's a lead.
Yeah.
You looked at my page. That's a lead. So, you got to really be good, and we want our salespeople to be good. Make no mistake. They got to know how to sell. We want the highest intent possible that we can afford. And so that lead mix coming up and intent is really going to be healthy for our business.
Good. That's awesome. So I don't know if I even asked you at the beginning, what's your official title now?
My official title is now president of the company. So
Okay.
all of the departments report up to me. I report up to Paul. Paul's the CEO. We're both co-owners. He's a majority owner. I'm a minority owner. But I bought into the business back in that little thing called COVID, right? When we had to lay
Good
off.
for you, man. Good for you.
Well, it was prophetic for us. It was a divine intervention, because, how's the business going to survive when a lot of our lead gen was shows and events, and now now you can't go talk to your customers anymore. So, Paul and I sat in his office, and we decided to double down and work our way through it, muscle our way through it. And it was not easy, but now we're on the other side of that. And like I said, it's really starting to get fun.
Well, good. I'm happy for you guys. I remember meeting Paul when he first got in the business, and nice guy. I asked him a couple times to come on the podcast. He wants to be behind the scenes, quiet, but I'm glad we were able to do this. So I've started to ask people about the best advice they've ever gotten or given. So I want to ask you, what's the best advice you've ever been given?
So I say this in our orientation all the time. It's all about relationships. That is the best advice I've ever been given. So yeah, we're in the business to make money. Like you said, you got to have money to fund the things you want to fund. But at the end of the day, it's the relationships that you've built that really matter. So we're a family here. We, not everybody gets to stay, completely, but for the people that stay and have been here, 5, 10, 12 years, we do life together. And so those relationships are super, super important. Nobody asks you on your deathbed, what was your revenue like in 2025, right? They're the people who are going to be important to you are the people that you did life with, walked through fires together, learned things together, and ultimately impacted their lives in a permanent kind of way. So when you have that philosophy and that mentality, it makes you want to give your very best every day. So I always ground it back to it's a people business. We're working with, we're working for, we're working alongside people, and that's what matters. And then everything else kind of follows.
Well, that's beautiful. Well, Michael, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I'm really happy for all of your success and Paul's success. Please give him my best. Maybe he'll listen to this when it comes
I'm
out.
sure he will.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll let you know when it goes out, and you can pass it on. You could pass it on to him. Hey, a great information. Thank you so much for sharing and being open. And for everybody listening, hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. Help other people find the show. Let us know, what you like, what you don't like, and subscribe to the show so you get new episodes when they come out. And what else am I supposed to say? Oh, you can get a copy of my book, The 7 Secrets to Becoming a Wealthy Contractor. I'll buy the book. You just pay shipping, and you can get that at thewealthycontractor.com. And that's it. Until next time, everybody, Brian Kaskavalcian, this is the Wealthy Contractor Podcast.